Hello everyone and welcome to the Cantata Building and Region Capture tutorial. I'm Kyle Cookstell, lead developer on Cantata, here to show you how to capture territory, how to build buildings, and how to do a lot more inside Cantata. We've got a video tutorial for you now. We do have a basic tutorial that's playable inside the actual game. We're working on a playable version of this tutorial, but until then, I wanted to still tell people how to use the new systems in Cantata. A lot's changed with this latest Orbital Drop, and I want you to be set up to take over Shoal. So let's just get right into it. So Cantata is broken down into regions. So in general in the game, all maps are broken into some set of regions. So your regions are outlined by these lines on the map, and you can tell if a region is owned by you, in which case it's green as it's outlined here, if it's owned by nobody, which is this sort of white outline, and then if it's owned by an enemy, which would be a red outline. You can also see this by clicking on any tile in a region. So if I click here, I can see that this green outline is telling me that, hey, this landing zone is owned by me. Whereas if I click over here, this neutral region, the scorched battlefield, is owned by nobody. So region capture matters for a few different reasons, but one of the main ones is that owning a region is what allows you to build new buildings on the map inside the game. So when I click here, I can see that I'm able to, well, not right now, I can build some of these units should their cooldowns expire. However, if I go over here to this region that I don't own, I can't build anything yet, and it says capture the region to access region improvements. I'm inside chapter 1 right now, as I expect this is where most people who are playing the game are going to start. So this acts as a little bit of a tutorial about how to do region capture and buildings inside chapter 1, while also just showing you, how to do that system in general. So I incremented a few turns to get rid of those cooldowns, and so if I look here, I can see I'm able to build some things. So the reason I can build things is if I mouse over, each thing that I can build inside of a region has some properties to it that dictate if I can build it or not. As a reminder, you can lock tooltips, and there's many nested tooltips in the game, so I'm going to press the middle mouse button to lock my tooltip so I can hover over and show you with my mouse. So here I can see my engine factory is going to produce these engines, and it will cost me 2 AP, and it will also cost me 10 alloy. This AP I can see is visible up here, so I have 5 right now. And these alloys I can see I have access to inside my storage inside that region. So because I have these both 2 AP as well as 10 alloys, I could click this building and then place it on the map here. And then seeing that I'm only able to place this inside of a region that I already own, or specifically the region that I'm building it inside the context of. So I'll go ahead and place it here. So when I built that, you might have seen something happen if you're looking down in the UI down here. By building that, I now am able to produce engines that will act as storage types that come into my region. So right now I can see that I've got 5 alloys, and I'm getting 3 each turn. And I don't have any engines right now, but I'll get 1 more engine on my next turn. So if I end my turn here, and then click my region again, I can now see that indeed I have 8 alloys and 1 engine. So in Cantata, you're going to be building up these buildings that are able to contribute different supply types, and then use those supply types to build new buildings on the map that are able to build different units. So one of our favorite units that we like to build early on is one of these recon rickshaws here. And so if we mouse over these pieces of infrastructure and we go to the garage, we can see that the garage is able to build this recon rickshaw. So the recon rickshaw we can see here is going to require some engines and some oil. And not only that, but I can see that my garage itself requires some oil. So how do I get oil? Well, if I mouse over my other buildings here, maybe this one, the refinery, I can see that, hey, the refinery actually produces oil. So if I am able to build my refinery to produce oil, I can then build my garage. And then once my garage is built and I produce more oil, I'll be able to build this rickshaw. So unfortunately right now, I do still need some more alloy to build my refinery. So I'm just going to increment a few turns here. And then maybe let's also start exploring the map a little bit. If you watch the basic tutorial, you know how to move and attack in Cantata, so we're just going to move and attack on the map. Let's move this up there. Ooh, we've discovered a conscript. And you can also see here, so I mentioned before, green regions are regions that you own. Neutral regions, these white ones, are not owned by you. These red regions, if I click them, I can see are owned by someone else. So I currently couldn't build inside this region because someone else owns it. The machine leader Vashti here in this case. So let's go back to our first region over here. And so we know that I need 10 more alloys, so I'll get that my next turn. So I'll go ahead and end my turn. And then I can build this refinery, and I'll place this here on the map. And so now I can see I'm going to get one oil per turn, as well as 3 alloys, which means that to get my engine factory, my garage, it looks like about 3 turns. However, if I wanted to, I could also potentially start building other things that also give me more of that supply type instead of just trying to rely on these single buildings. So we'll do that in a second, but first let's get us building a rickshaw. Or getting us building a garage. So I'm just incrementing turns here. In the real game, you would want to, move and attack a little bit, but for here, we'll stay here. So when I click this region now, I can see that I have 3 oil, 10 alloys, and 5 engines, and I'm mousing over my garage to build it, but what I'm seeing is that, okay, well, I still can't select this. Why is that the case? So I've got all my resources, I've got my AP, I've got my alloys, I've got my engines. Why can't I build this? And the reason I can't build this is because if I actually look here, inside this landing zone, it says 3 out of 3, as well as if I mouse over here on this region infrastructure limit, I can see that I can actually only build 3 buildings inside this region. So what this means is that if I want to build more buildings, and I would have to capture other regions to be able to have slots to build those buildings. So lucky for me, there's a spot right here, this neutral region that I can capture that will allow me to then place down my next building so we can eventually build our rickshaw. So the question then becomes, how do you capture a region? So regions have some general thing we call pressure or pressure threshold. So right now you can see this neutral region has got -5. And what this means is that if I was to exert 5 pressure in that region, I would then be able to capture that region. However, for regions like this is -30. What that's telling me is that Vashti, this machine leader, is exerting a lot of pressure in this region somewhere I can't see, such that it's going to be really hard for me to capture this region without taking out some of her force. So in this neutral region that's uncontested, I want to be able to put down something that allows me to get pressure that can then turn the region basically to my ownership. So for the human faction, there's kind of 2 main ways to do this. One is that we have our HQ. So if I actually mouse over my HQ here, I can see that I am already exerting 15 pressure. And I can even mouse over pressure for a little more info on the tooltip. But over here, I can see that if I click this, I'm +6 here, so that the +6 is the 15 pressure from the HQ minus the pressure required to build to own the region. So, however, if you look inside of our infrastructure here, we can't build here because we don't own it yet. And this infrastructure doesn't allow us to build an HQ yet. We can build them eventually, but not yet. So the question is, how do we get pressure in regions as the human faction? So lucky for us, each of our conscripts is able to build this thing called a royal banner. And so if you look at the royal banner, you can see that, hey, this exerts 5 pressure, so we should probably build one of these. So if I wanted to come in here and say, okay, great, let's build my royal banner. What you'll see is I actually don't have any access to alloys to build that banner because the region that I'm in, I haven't been producing any resources to. I've just been producing them to the region that I own. So I have 2 options. One is that I could choose to come back and kind of, go to the very edge of my region and then go ahead and build my banner here if I wanted to, and that would build my banner, and that would give me enough pressure to capture the region. However, it might be the case, with Vashti over here, that I need to kind of get further out into her base to start attacking her while also trying to put down pressure. And so what we want to do is that for regions and region supply networks, we have this concept called outposts, which basically are little groups of buildings that sort of connect to adjacent regions or networks and give you access to their supply. So for this conscript here, I'm going to instead go to build the storage shed. And you can see when I'm actually mousing over these tiles that it's drawing me a line to landing zone to show me that, hey, I'm going to get resources from that if I build this here. So let's go ahead and build a storage shed here for 2 AP. And then now that that's built, if I click my conscript, I can see that, hey, actually when I mouse over this storage shed, I can actually see the resources that it has access to. So it's saying I'm going to get I have access to 5 engines, 10 alloys, and 3 oil. So that means that this conscript here can now build this banner on this region, thus capturing this region. So now that you can see, if I click this is now green, which shows me, hey, I own this. And not only that, but because it's adjacent to a region that I already own, these regions have now formed a supply network. What that means is that this region here now has access to all the same resources that are already in this region. If I was to capture this northern forest, the northern forest would then have access to all those resources, and so on and so forth. When I click the region, you'll see I don't really see any storage right now or anything I have access to. But if I click this toggle inventory view, I can see here, oh, this is my actual network storage, as we call it. So this scorched battlefield doesn't have anything yet inside of it. However, it does have access to these resources here. So let's go back to my garage and say, okay, well, I can't quite build it yet, but my next turn, when I have my more AP, I'll be able to build my garage. So in my turn, and I'll come here and say, great. So now, in this new region, I have 2 open slots for infrastructure. I have the AP and resources required to build that, and now I can grab that garage and go ahead and place it down somewhere over here. So let's go ahead and place it down here. Uh-oh. So now I've sited some machines by building there, but let's click my garage and see, okay, in 1 turn, I'll be able to build a rickshaw. So let's hope that I can build a rickshaw before this drone comes to get me. Uh-oh, they're moving in. So they're coming close, but I think I'll be good. So let's see. So I'm gonna with my garage, I can build this rickshaw just in time. Uh-oh, some walker over here. Ooh, interesting. Maybe we should keep playing chapter 1 to see what happens. My rickshaw, let's see. So I think because I just built it, it's actually currently in cooldown for its attack. I can check that by pressing the E key and seeing, yes, indeed, I have 1 turn left on my cooldown for my rickshaw. So I could potentially maybe get out of there because it looks like this builder drone might be coming to try to get me, but otherwise, yeah, maybe I'll just run away. So let's go ahead and come over here and then load up my conscript. And then can I take a pot shot of the drone? I can't. All right, so in my turn. I think this drone might try to come from my garage. Oop, there it goes. So with that, hopefully that was a quick little overview of how to capture regions and territory in Cantata, how to build units and buildings on the map, and generally how to kind of like think strategically about the territory you're capturing, as well as think about region limits and supply limits and all that sort of stuff. Again, we want to put a proper playable version of this tutorial in the game so you don't have to, watch me talk about the game, but we did just get a lot of these features in for the latest build of the game that everyone's got in. Again, the game is live on Steam now in early access. We just added online multiplayer. We just added skirmish. We've got a new map generator mode that's in the game and gonna get tied up to skirmish pretty soon. We've got also we redesigned the supply system. So if you're interested in playing Cantata, now is the best time. The game is hot and fresh and just like really, really, really good. So again, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Hope you learned something. And again, game is out on Steam. Check us out on forums, Discord, Twitter, everything. Otherwise, we'll talk to you all again next time. Bye.